In 1998, I did an MA at the Royal College of Art, and I began sampling examples from the history of ceramics, popular ceramics. And I became very drawn towards the Staffordshire potters of the 19th century because I felt they had a lot in common with my own work of the 1960s, where I began as a pop artist. These pieces were for the common people. They were mass-produced, and they were chimney ornaments, flatbacks, and they were low art, if you like. And the toffs had their high art. They had their Minton and their Coalport, very expensive works. But these works were more for everybody, and they were cheap, and as I say, they were mass-produced. It's a commemoration of bull baiting, which was a sport at the time, which was very cruel. And I love the way that he's commenting on the cruelty of it. Sherratt originated the tabletop base, which is a very clever device, so that the whole of the tableau can rest upon it. As souvenirs, these flatbacks tell us much about the time and circumstances in which they were made. We know little of his history, only that he was married twice and had 3 children. All his family potted with him at his works in Burslem. He was probably illiterate, as both his wedding certificates were signed with a cross, and many of the titles in his pieces were misspelt. The work of these potters has a remarkable innocence and naivety which I love. Now, anyone who works with clay will understand the complexity of producing these wares. So although they are naive, they are by no means, they're very intelligently made and very intelligently produced. The clever curating of the exhibition leads the eye from the stick held by the figure in Sherratt's flatback to my oversized Obediah with his modelling tool. When I did my degree in Stoke in 1967 to 1970, from the start I wanted to do ceramic sculpture, which was a bit of an unknown territory at the time, which is why I was interested in it in the first place. So I've always wanted to use clay as a creative material, and I've always wanted to push the boundaries of the material as well. I began to get into making things out of popular artifacts such as a matchbox and handbags. Now, this didn't go down very well at the time at Stoke, because the whole ethos there was for the Eastern philosophy, for Bernard Leach, for the brown pot, the Temaku pot. And I completely, there was nothing in me that wanted to make a brown pot. It was a great education, and there was a film club, and in the film club I saw a lot of films that have imprinted there. In my memory they are, and one was last year at Marienbad, and these were so exciting that to go into college and make brown pots was just, it just didn't make sense to me. I started, as I say, making popular objects and using things like silk screen and the enamel colours to put on the pieces to get them to be the right colours. And it was only after I'd done these pieces that I was introduced by one of my lecturers to pop art. It isn't like it is now, where you can find anything on the internet. At that time, to find out what was going on in the contemporary world was quite difficult, and there were only 1 or 2 books. Finding work from people like Peter Blake and the American pop artist Andy Warhol was a complete revelation to me, and I was thrilled to bits. And I began to feel that I was part of the movement. It took a long time for this actually to kind of catch up. And I spent many years kind of working by myself and not really having much to do with the rest of the ceramics world. Now, in my piece here, which I call Obediah, Master of Bursley, I made this as part of my final show at the Royal College in the year 2000. Another large piece based on Staffordshire flatbacks was made at the same time, called Budham Barkage, which was bought by Brighton Museum. To me, there's an obvious relationship between pop art and the Staffordshire flatbacks. Both can be defined as low art, mass-produced for everyone, commemorating aspects which are also common to all and which could be understood by everyone.
In this piece I used a pop art device and blew up, enlarging the scene to much larger proportions. I used the figure of the man in the bull baiting scene as Obadiah himself. The original figure raises his hands in horror at the cruelty perpetrated on the bull. Here, Obadiah raises his hands in triumph for his achievements. I used a tabletop format originated by Sherratt for the sculpture. I modernised the bocage or tree form by simplifying it and put a modelling tool in his hand rather than a stick. This represents creativity and the skill in his work. The mad bird is a self-portrait so that I can sit in the tree and be part of the scene. The word master is misspelt as a reference to Sherratt's illiteracy, and the name Bursley instead of Bursley is a reference to Arnold Bennett's trilogy, Anna of the Five Towns.